Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of this Plotaholics podcast. I'm Shane Wilson, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Brian Tan. Mr. Brian Tan, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Feeling pretty good for 2023. Happy New Year! I never learned the words.
They're not important.
No, they're not.
I think some of them are made up.
Probably. Birthday, but all words are made up.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah. Oh man, but no, I'm feeling pretty good today. The first teaser for Evil Dead Rise has literally just dropped, so I can't wait to check that out because I love the Evil Dead franchise.
Indeed.
Were you a good boy this year? Did Santa bring you everything you wanted for Christmas and the New Year?
Yeah, but I didn't really ask for much. See, like when you don't have a lot riding on what Santa brings you, then you can act however you want to.
That's a good point by you. Yeah, that's true.
Let's be a lesson to all the children. Grow up, make your own money so that Santa doesn't have jurisdiction over your life.
There you go. What's funny is that Sharon was just telling me you are she was like, you're not as hard to shop for as my dad, but you are a very close second.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because her dad will not accept gift cards. Me, I'll take all the damn gift cards.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Michelle does really lovely work when it comes to gift giving.
Yeah.
She's very good at thinking outside of the box,
Nice.
So,
and how did you guys ring in the New Year?
well, Michelle had to work on Sunday, so she was in bed.
Oh, okay.
So that's that. I mean, because she's a nurse, so she had to be up at 5:45 a.m. on New Year's Day. So
that's a butthole way to have to ring in the New Year.
It is. But so
you guys just got drunk at noon instead of midnight.
Yeah, but throughout the holiday, like we had family here for like a week, for Christmas week, basically the whole time. So that was kind of nice.
That's good. That's real good. That sounds like you guys had a good time.
It was lovely. It was lovely. And now, now work has started back and all of that stuff. So
yeah, now we're getting back into the grind. It feels weird being home alone now because, Sharon was off for about 2 weeks.
Right.
So now I'm like used to hearing her around the house. Hearing her make noise during the day the first 2 days was like nerve-wracking because it's like, who the hell's in my house? Yeah. Now I'm like, it's so quiet.
Yeah. For sure. This week, so usually, Brian, in January we do 80s block of film.
Yeah.
But we decided to switch it up because the 80s are dead and gone, and
yes.
And there are only so many 80s movies that either of us really give that much of a shit about. This is what's really interesting, right? Is there are 80s movies that stick with you in your brain, and you're like, man, the 80s that was a banger of a decade for movies. But
right.
Once you get through the top 10 to 20 movies, what else is there?
Yeah, once you start getting into the 30s, it's like, okay.
Right. And what did we learn from this is that the 80s aren't that great.
The misogyny and racism was still very, very prevalent. It was just funny now.
Right. Yeah. We just have some of us have nostalgia goggles for that decade. In cinema and in media in general.
Correct.
And to be completely fair, I don't even think that the music is that good. So
I mean, there's some aspect. There's always certain aspects. At some point, we'll still trickle in some 80s movies. Like, I'd love to do Spies Like Us sometime, or
Sure,
Stripes.
sure.
But, there's
We're
also
not done with the 80s. We're not writing them off.
No, it's just that we want to do something different. We want to bring in the new year with some fresh content, some fresh stuff.
Yeah, so we are now going to look at some much more recent films, and we're starting with Bullet Train.
Bullet Train. Now, I saw the trailer for this back over the summer. I can't remember which movie.
I remember seeing the trailer for this too a while back, and it must have been attached to, I'm trying to think what I've been to see in theaters. Could it have been attached to like No Way Home?
It might have been.
I just haven't been to the theater that many times.
I don't remember. Wait a second. No Way Home. No, because I didn't get to see No Way Home in the theater.
Okay.
That was last December. I remember seeing the trailers for this over the summer. Let me see. Films that came out summer 22. I can't remember like which movies there were. Let me see. I didn't go see Jurassic World.
I didn't either.
I don't like those movies. I only really like the first Jurassic Park movie.
The first Jurassic Park is very good, but
otherwise,
everything else is uneven at best.
Yeah. I think I might have seen it attached to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That seems about right because I know I went to go see that. Top Gun Maverick because I went to go see that. Thor: Love and Thunder. So I saw this trailer attached to some of the main movies that I went to go see. Yeah, so it was probably those couple.
Yeah.
And I was very interested because I've always got time for I always have time for Brad Pitt. I'll always make time for Brad Pitt.
I've really appreciated latter-day Brad Pitt as he becomes like increasingly more self-aware. He's sort of in that like Nicolas Cage spot of his career.
Yeah.
And I have really enjoyed his last few roles, man. Like, I mean, we talked about
like Once Upon a Time in
Hollywood, right? Like, I mean, I've really enjoyed him as of late.
I agree. I also always will make time now for Brian Tyree Henry. I think he's absolutely hilarious.
Absolutely.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is also he's come so far since his days as Kick-Ass. Like, yep. I'm really glad that he's not just because I mean, you notice like a lot of guys from that era, like Jason Biggs had a hard time transitioning away from teen comedy. Jonah Hill had his difficulties, but he's doing better. He's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought that it was going to be more difficult for him, but he did really, really good. And Antoine Fuqua has had so many banger films over the last 20 years that if I see he's attached to a movie, I am excited to see it.
Yeah.
So
but I'm with you on this cast and
this cast is amazing. Yeah, this cast is amazing, and we even got we got a little bit of my man from we got my man Assam from Warrior in this one as well, who is, oh my god, this guy is so good. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and I feel really, really bad for not remembering his name off the top of my head. But
and I would also
Andrew Koji. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll also point to, I'm a big fan of this Joey King. Like
Joey King, oh my god, yes,
she's very good, and I've seen her in a handful of things, and she's sort of the Netflix darling. She's in a bunch of their original stuff.
I did not realize that she was the little girl from Dark Knight Rises.
I actually didn't realize that either.
Yeah, that's little Talia al Ghul.
Wow, that checks out. That makes sense.
And we got Scorpion from the newest Mortal Kombat in this as well. This is a really, really great. I almost want to call this a ensemble cast.
Yeah, I would say that it is, because even though Brad Pitt gets top bill, he is not in the film for the first like 10, 15 minutes.
Right, exactly.
And he's not in, like, if he's the leading guy, he's not in that much of it. You know, like,
right.
By comparison, like I would say he gets probably equal screen time to Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, and Joey King, like those four probably share about equal screen time.
And we get a whole bunch of Sandra Bullock in this too, which I will make time for Sandra Bullock. Like Sandra Bullock, she's one of those figures in Hollywood who, like Brad Pitt, just gets better each year that goes on. Just gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
And this movie is just one thing that I really, really appreciate about this film is the comedy, the suspense, and the whodunit.
Well, you know that I am a fan of a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously.
And this film does not do that.
And I think that action flicks can just kind of like get in their own way sometimes with how serious they take themselves.
Looking at you, Steven Seagal movies.
And it just ain't that serious, bro. Like you're not like it's probably not a real gun unless you're Alec Baldwin. But mostly
Shane Wilson coming out swinging in 2023.
But mostly I'm just like, I don't know, man. So in order for an action film to be entertaining at this point, it almost has to have this really outlandish premise to begin with, right? Because shoot 'em ups are kind of done. They're kind of over. You know,
they've been done. They've been done for forever. The days of the Arnold Schwarzenegger film are over.
And so you have a couple of different ways to go about it. You have the overly philosophical method, which is like the Matrix, and then you have like the fun, like the just like ripshod, like gun them, like
Deadpool,
shoot 'em up, like Deadpool, but also like wasn't there? Do you remember that movie called Shoot 'em Up?
No. Oh, Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo is another one like that. But
we should do that sometime.
We should. Maybe we should just do all gun movies one month. But like,
there you go. It has to have guns in the title,
but none of the basic ones, right?
Right.
But there's this movie called Shoot 'em Up, and it was essentially an 87-minute long gunfight.
Oh, okay.
And it's from the guys. I feel like, let me look this up and make sure that I don't misspeak.
Okay.
Regardless, like that, you have a couple of different ways. It's
because you can also get the drama. You also get the drama shoot 'em ups too.
Paul Giamatti, Monica Bellucci.
Oh, okay.
Shoot 'em up.
Hey, I'll make time for Monica Bellucci. Well, I think that there's also the dramatic shoot 'em ups as well, like the Equalizer. Those have started to really become prominent as well. And you notice though that one thing that a lot of these action films and the shoot 'em ups are starting to have more and more in common too is we're starting to get a better mix of the quote unquote aged actors as well as the youthful actors.
Yeah.
Cause you remember, man, I remember back in the 80s, the old guys, and I'm talking guys that were past their 30s, were these out of shape guys that just couldn't cut it anymore. Yeah. It was only the guys in their 20s to like 30s that could get the job done. Now you've got cats that are just getting it done, and it don't matter if they've got gray, if they've got age, they're just getting it done.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Let's do a little synopsis here before we get too far into the weeds.
All right. Yeah, let's do this. So Bullet Train sees the Ladybug, played by Brad Pitt, who is getting back into the game, so to speak. He's been tasked with stealing a particular case because he's taking over for one of his coworkers. What he doesn't find out is that him being a good employee has very dangerous consequences. Snakes, bombs, and fruit aplenty.
Man, like, okay. We should also, because this film is relatively new, we should go ahead and slap a big spoiler warning.
Spoiler! If you have Netflix, why haven't you watched this yet?
Yeah, pause, go watch it now.
And then come back.
Because it's remarkable. It's very fun.
It really is. I didn't even recognize Logan Lerman in this film. He was the White Death's son.
Ah, right.
Now, I've got a bit of an issue with Logan Lerman because, and I mean, granted, he didn't cast himself in Percy Jackson, but come on, man, 18 years old playing a 12-year-old.
Yeah. So Bullet Train will like it immediately to me feels like reminiscent of like Pulp Fiction.
I was getting ready to say that.
Bad Times at the El Royale. Did you ever watch that?
No, I haven't actually.
That's a really good one.
Okay.
Another sort of like multi POV sort of like whodunit action drama comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of like that's the thing that I like about this movie and those other movies is how much it breaks genre in a variety of ways, right?
Absolutely.
Because this movie is legitimately funny.
It truly is. It's funny, and even the slapstick isn't like, it doesn't give you the same bit of laughter as like classic slapstick.
Yeah, well, a lot of the slapstick here is really the result of like really well choreographed fight sequences.
Exactly. Like when they're fighting in the refreshment car, and it's like the trolley lady isn't like noticing anything, but these guys are like pounding the hell out of each other.
Yeah, man. I thought that the fights were really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Like the choreography that they did with the briefcase. So like Brad Pitt's character doesn't like guns.
Correct.
And so he tries not to use them, but he does try to like disarm the people that he's going up against, right?
Right.
He also talks a lot early on about like how bad his luck is.
Yeah, that's really a huge motif of this film.
And honestly, luck and fate and all that stuff like is something that runs throughout. But
it really does. A lot of the stuff you'll see it as like coincidence, but it's really the aspect of fate, and it's like the things that happen, even if they seem like they're coming out of nowhere, it's been set up scenes prior, if not earlier in said scene.
Well, what I thought was really interesting choice was the introduction of the snake.
Oh man.
and venom, because like I feel like they built it up so much that you thought, okay, well, at least the scorpion is going to be a big deal assassin, right?
Right.
But like she got handled so easy, and the snake ended up being a non-issue, right?
Like, right. It was always like is it gonna happen? It's gonna happen.
So scared of like when that snake was gonna pop out and get somebody. Dude. And of course like, I loved the bit where so like Brad Pitt gets in a fight with the girl that uses the snake venom as her like weapon of choice. He ends up taking the antidote from her, right, and like using it on himself. So later on, he's like, he gets bit by that snake, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this, but I've already got a little anti-venom in me from earlier." Like, as luck would have it, right? Like,
yeah.
And then whenever he took it from the scorpion the first time, he's like, "You don't have a backup?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "What? Why would you only bring one?"
That was so good. Oh, what I really like though, especially, is the exposition isn't backlogged. We're given it through conversation,
and we're also given it as we need it.
And as exactly, we're not just getting this big dump.
It gives you. This is what I love this kind of movie, because it introduces an interesting character and lets that interesting character live on the screen for a moment, and then as you're asking yourself, who is this person? That's when it tells you.
Right.
And the first example of that is with Bad Bunny's character.
Oh man, Bad Bunny.
Who I love this character, even though he's like barely here at all, because they make him out to be this like hard ass, right? And then he ends up in one fight with Brad Pitt and just kills himself, basically.
Right. See, Bad Bunny, I only know who Bad Bunny is because of he was in WrestleMania. Like, that's the only reason why I know who he is. So I might actually have to
talking about Benito Martinez Ocasio, who plays the wolf in this film.
Right. I might have to see if this novel, because this is the second novel in the Hitman trilogy. So I got to see if they have this translated into an English audiobook, because I want to check this out. But yeah, so
there are a few red herrings in this movie, right?
Yes.
Like the snake is one of them.
Yes.
And I would also argue that Channing Tatum is one.
Yeah.
Like you think like this guy's on this train, like especially because they introduce his cameo pretty close in proximity to mentioning the scorpion the first time.
Right.
And so I'm like, you don't get Channing Tatum in your movie unless he's going to be a big deal, but he never is, which is great.
No, but he's only there for comedy. And I love the fact that he's getting to a point where he's not taking himself too seriously.
Exactly. But I don't know that he ever actually has. Like, he's always been pretty self-aware.
I mean, yes and no. Like, some of the stuff, like Magic Mike, I could see would be why you see, but I mean, but even I like it when he's a little bit lighter. Like,
yeah, I agree.
When he was in Dear John, he was so serious, and I get it. That's the premise of the movie, but I think he's really at his best where he can let his sense of humor show.
Yeah, like 22 Jump Street or 21 Jump Street, right? Like,
21, 22, whatever.
He's very funny in those, and he was funny in this. But I love that so first of all, like, I mean, I know this isn't first of all because we've been talking for a while, but this train looks like a lot of fun to just be on.
Dude, I wish we had bullet trains here in America.
This train looks dope as hell. Like the kid car with like the mascot and everything in it.
I'm serious, man. I want to honestly, I want to go to Japan just to ride a bullet train.
It's a ride. Like it felt like an amusement park ride that would never end.
The only thing that I had issue with, was when Tangerine is like outside of the bullet train and he's just like, okay. And it's like, nah, bro. As soon as that thing picked up speed, you would have gone flying so fast. I've seen the Wolverine.
That's right. No, I mean, I do understand your beef with that, but to me, I'm just like, of course he jumped on it. Like, what else? Like, of course he did, right? This movie is so ridiculous. Of course he did that. And got in, right? I mean, like this, like homie broke through the glass with his forehead.
Yeah, there's no way you're doing that. Your skull is done, my friend.
Yeah, I love it.
But I mean, it's almost like this novel is almost like supposed to be sort of comic book-esque.
Right.
So this is something that would happen, like Marv doing what he does in Sin City, you know?
Uh-huh.
But I also love the fact that, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but there's so much going on.
Kind of does that too.
Yeah. Tangerine and Lemon.
I love these two.
I love how they say, oh, they're twins. And he goes, I don't think they're twins.
That's so good, dude. But like, I also love how they are brothers, right? Like, how they grew up together and all of that.
Yeah.
But they are excellent. I love how Lemon uses like Thomas the Tank Engine to read people and to like identify what kinds of people they are. And as soon as he was like, there's a diesel on this train, I was like, it's Joey King, bro. I promise.
And I'll tell you what, it's after you've watched the movie, it's like there's like, how did you ask yourself, how did I not see it? The most unassuming person on this train, it's like obvious that this is the Diesel. This is the bad guy.
Like I called it early that she was the Diesel. Now I didn't call like the relationship twist right from the end.
Yeah, I missed that one.
But it did make sense. I also really appreciated the payoff on the bomb that she had hidden in the gun.
That was good. That was so good. We got to talk about
so many things at the end of this movie, like in that final like 20-minute crescendo. Like where all of the like jokes that they had lined up and ultimately paid off.
It was almost like a game of dominoes.
Yeah,
where they just went down perfect.
And us as Brad Pitt, right? Like because Brad Pitt is sort of our entry point to the story,
right?
Like he watches all of it happen, and we're all just like, "What?" Like when that dude got run over by that tangerine truck at the end, and then the post-credit scene, we saw it was Lemon driving it.
Yeah, that was so great. Or even still, when we get the reveal of the White Death and it's Michael Shannon, it's like, General Zod. I should have known.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But I especially also love the fact how the events of this all started because of the guy that Brad Pitt is subbing for.
I don't know when you want to get into that.
Okay.
Because
that was so funny though.
It is so funny, and talk about somebody who's self-aware, and has become himself a joke in a lot of ways, right? Like,
and it's a joke that he's telling.
Right. He didn't even have to say a word in this movie.
Mm-mm.
And he
you
was
see him, and that's
so
it.
Funnier. It was funnier because it was him.
And it was fun, and because it was him, he didn't have to utter a single word. It was just that look.
Right. And you think, like, whenever you write a story like this and you're like, okay, so Brad Pitt is in the wrong place at the wrong time because he subs in for like another assassin, right?
Right.
And the other assassin is the one that's like supposed to be in trouble.
Right.
You assume that, like, when you write a story like that, you know you have like your dream guy. Like, this is the guy that I want to play, the one that called out sick.
Right.
And it has to be this guy.
Because he knows he did something.
The only other person that could have done that would have been like a Nick Cage, right?
Yeah. Or even, you know who I think might have been able to do it? Andy Samberg.
Yeah, but Andy Samberg doesn't have.
That's not his thing. But that's not his thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but I definitely agree with you with like a Nick Cage could have done it. Maybe even if it were like,
well, because Andy Samberg isn't at that part of his career yet where Andy Samberg is the joke.
Correct.
Like Nicolas Cage is the joke. This guy is the joke.
15 years ago, it would have been James Van Der Beek because James Van Der Beek became the joke. I mean, even if it was James Van Der Beek for this, I could have seen it. I would have been totally good with that.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, it would have been absolutely fine. Who else could it have been? Somebody like The Rock. Keanu. That would have been funny because of the kind of roles that Keanu tends to play.
Right. Like, but it's not Keanu as Keanu. It has to either be Keanu as Johnny Silverhand or Keanu as himself from Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah, it has to be Keanu as himself, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it could. I mean, who else could it be? I want to think of someone like older, like an older guy. I would almost want to say like Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah,
I could see Kiefer Sutherland.
That's not bad.
Or Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Yeah, but okay, so spoiler. Like the big reveal there is that Ryan Reynolds is the guy. And whenever he turns around and looks at the camera in the flashback, it's like,
because who else could it be?
What we discover is that everyone on this train is on this train on purpose.
Yeah, they've all been put on this train because of the White Death.
Yes.
Or in some instances, like the one character, Andrew Koji's character, Yuchi, he's there because Joey King's character wanted him there.
Right. Well, right. So, like, all of these assassins are hired by the White Death to be on this train at the same time in order to essentially kill each other for their all varying levels of involvement in his wife's death.
Correct.
Including his own son.
Correct. Because basically his wife died. His wife was assassinated, but it was supposed to be him. But she left only because she was going to get their son, who was a complete and utter screw up. But didn't Joey King do something to set that up too? But she shoved the dude's son off of a roof to get him there, and so that he could open up some briefcase so she could set it up. Everyone was there, and Brad Pitt was supposed to have been
Ryan Reynolds,
but he subbed in. That's why he's like, oh man, that's not even me. And I actually threw in this quip. If he would have said, I'm not even supposed to be here today, I would have just like died laughing right there.
Right. So, and then like at the final stop, the implication then is that the White Death is just going to kill whoever's left.
Right. But the guy
where they are like so they have this briefcase of money, right? That they used to lure like Lemon and company onto the train to begin with, and Brad Pitt. And like the White Death gives it to his like two goons to go open it to make sure that the money's in there. And they're like, why do we even have to open this? Why isn't he opening it? There could be a bomb in here.
Right. Now what's funny though is that unbeknownst to Joey King, the father of the grandfather of the kid she shoved off the roof has a beef with her dad anyway. So for him, this is like fate coming
Yeah,
together. We talked
exactly.
about that.
Yeah. And
And
that's what all of it is, right? Because for so long, the movie feels like random chaos.
right, but
But
it's all
as
planned.
it winds through itself, like you sort of start to see how it all connects. And that is the brilliance of it. And that's the fun of it, because it's a puzzle that is being revealed to you in real time, right?
And I
And
love
it's
films. I
something,
love watching movies like that for the first time.
yeah. Yeah, it is. It's such a fun movie and so well cast. I loved everybody in this thing.
This kind of felt like, it felt like to me a more rambunctious version of Knives Out.
Mm.
Sort of like in that similar storytelling vein of the
Yeah,
Who
you
Done
just
It.
don't have a central detective
Correct.
because Brad Pitt ultimately doesn't care. He's
No.
just trying to get off the train.
Right. He just wants his money and he's talking to his handler like over and over and over, just
Yeah.
trying to get out of this situation. He just wants to get paid.
Yeah.
And I love, though, when we find out that he's been talking to Sandra Bullock and she shows up in this boss ass ride.
Yeah.
And they're like getting ready to go, and then the telephone pole just drops, and she's just like, "Really?"
Well, look, so we get the conclusion where they all decide to work together to like kill
Yes.
the White Death, right?
Yes.
And the train, oh my God, like this thing where like when he goes up there to drive the train and he's like, they never covered this on Thomas. Like,
Yeah.
this guy really thought he was going to go up there. And
Yeah.
Brad Pitt finds the instruction manual and he's like, I've got it.
And it goes out the window. And he's
I love that shit. Like, there's so many moments like that where it's like every time, especially with Brad Pitt, every time he thinks he's got a handle on something, like another door opens and here's another dude, or like whatever,
there's just something else getting in the way.
Yeah.
And you know what really, I think that we started to get this out of Brad Pitt with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I got a lot of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith version of Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a lot of those vibes.
I can see that.
And I like this bumbling everyman version.
Yeah, because like he's an assassin or whatever, but he's like not even that good. Like
he's really not. He's bad at his job.
He's good on accident, right?
Right. He's kind of like a crappier version of Domino.
He's sort of like Mr. Magoo's way through it all, right?
I love it. That is such a great description. I love that. I think that now what's really funny to me, talking about the Mr. Magoo and his way through everything, I like how when we switch our perspectives, like we get the Mr. Magoo slapstick comedy from Brad Pitt's perspective, but when we go to the Kimura perspective, it's real serious and somber.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a father that's trying to get revenge for his son,
right?
And then but whenever we get to it's like we do a great job of bouncing back and forth between these different perspectives, so we get all of the things that we really want out of an action film. You get that little bit of the drama, you get a little bit of that suspense, but then you just get the outright silliness. And
yeah, right. So I'm reading about the production of this, and like as it was being developed, they wanted it to feel more like Die Hard, and I'm so glad they didn't go that way.
Me too.
Because like it's already sort of this like it's already set in one small place, right? Like I love the premise of any movie that's like, and in that way it is similar to Die Hard, right? Like Die Hard takes place in one building.
Right.
Like this takes place on one train over like it's
a couple of hours,
right? I love that. It totally makes sense that they would think of Die Hard with this, but I'm glad that they went with it I'm glad they went a little bit more lighthearted with it.
Correct. I also love the colors palette.
Oh, the color palette is so good. And it's so Tokyo, right? It's so like what you think, like all the neons and everything, right?
I was just getting ready to say, us Westerners, when we picture Tokyo, we picture a city of lights, kind of like New York or LA.
And every car on the train sort of has its own personality, which I thought it's a really cool way to make the movie feel like it takes place in a lot of different places when it's really just taking place in one spot, right?
Right, exactly. Now, the one thing, and I'm seeing this over here on Wikipedia, is that there's representation of race and casting, where there aren't a lot of Asian actors in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never been to Japan, but are there that many white folks meandering around Japan doing stuff?
I don't know. I mean, like, well, the thing is that so many of them are hired guns.
That's a good point. That's true. Like the Japanese American Citizens League criticized a lot of the casting choices,
and that's a fair point. To be fair, for sure.
Yeah, if they would have based this here in America, and instead of it being a bullet train, it's just an Amtrak, could it have been basically the same story? Sure.
Yeah.
Basically. But if you're gonna go with I think that I understand the point exactly. At this point in time, it's time for everyone to have a seat at these tables.
Sure.
Even if you were just gonna have like Brad Pitt, Sandra Bullock, and Ryan. Why did I almost say Ryan Coogler?
I have no idea.
Two completely different guys. But if you are
like, the script doesn't the least acknowledge like that the internationalness of these people, like, because Lemon and Tangerine, like, they've worked other jobs in other places. Like, they're not just based in Japan, right? Like, they
they're traveling
jobs.
All the outsiders are traveling.
Right. And to that point, sure. Right. Like, I would have like maybe liked to see the Brad Pitt character played by a Japanese actor. Like, the local roles were played, like, that would be the guy that like Joey King is fucking with, and like that dude's dad.
Yeah.
Like, you have those two characters. Certainly there could have been more, right? But like, I feel like the implication is that that White Death is like has this global reach. And so all of these people that he has business dealings with are everywhere, because you have like the Mexican guy, right? The guys that did the job in Bolivia that are from like Britain. You have, like, so he kind of like pulled everybody in from all over the place.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I guess I think one of the issues,
there was never, like, I don't think that the movie ever implied that these people were from Japan or even based there.
Very true. Very, very true. That's a great point. I really do think that when it comes to certain settings, I think we're at a point now. And while I understand the point that the Japanese American Citizens League was saying,
yeah,
I think that where we're getting right now is that we're slowly but surely getting way more color representation.
Sure.
But we also got to understand, too, that these things aren't going to happen overnight the way we want them to happen. They're still going to be people of whatever.
Well, right. And in this film, just as a film, and keep in mind, like, Tokyo is an international city, right? Like New York.
True.
And so as in that case, like, I don't think you want to set this on an Amtrak, because part of the film is that when this thing is running, you can't get off of it, right?
Right.
Like, it's too fast, and that it travels so much, it covers so much area, right? That's the other thing.
Right.
And so it's important that it's on a train like this, which means that you're limited in the number of places you can put it.
Correct.
But then you have all of these people pulled in from all over the place, and the film itself is a very diverse cast.
It really is. No, you're right.
So I don't have as much of an issue. I do understand it, right? But if the film hadn't taken such pains to demonstrate that the White Death had dealings all over the world, and I feel like the way that the cast is filled out is pretty purposeful to show like the White Death's reach, as opposed to, like, it would feel too localized if they were all like Asian American actors, right?
Very true. No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong.
So that's not to say that the other people on the train couldn't have been, like, because I don't know, like, I wasn't really looking at extras. You know what I mean?
That's true. I have to admit, another part of this movie that really made me chuckle was when they were in the mellow car and they're fighting in that chill car, and the lady keeps shushing them.
Yeah.
And he's like, And he's like really getting like hot at her too. He's like, lady, if you don't shut up and leave me alone.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, honestly, I just felt like all of it, like it did make me laugh a lot.
Yes.
And I thought like the Chekhov's gun of it all, like being the page of stickers. And
Yes.
then like the diesel sticker being on Joey King, like at the end of it, whenever like we thought that Lemon was dead. And I really thought she had shot him in the head.
So did I. I was pretty upset when I thought that he died. I was very upset by that.
Yeah,
That really upset me.
we were all pretty upset about it here as well. He was a crowd favorite.
Oh yeah. Now Tangerine, I was still kind of upset for.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I was more upset when I thought it was Lemon.
Yeah, Tangerine was like more of a dick.
Way more of a dick. You know what? I would love to see a sequel with Ladybug and and Lemon working together.
I would love to see like prequel films for all of these characters.
Yes, I want to see the adventures that got them there. Like all of these characters are so strong.
And yeah, they really are. And I feel like they could all carry individual films easily, you know, and it would be fun to watch for them and watch for the other actors in the backgrounds, you know, like because they would all be working some of the same jobs, you know.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would be so cool. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I think as we're coming into the 40-minute mark, one of my favorite things, I think, and we talked about the color palette, the characters, the whatever.
This color palette has gotten really popular lately, not just in movies set in this place, but like I noticed during the pandemic, like there was a huge influx in like neon color palettes in film.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. I think it's awesome.
I love the neon colors. I like bright colors. I really do. I'm really just a big fan of just the delivery. You know, the difference between good actors and great actors is how they deliver lines.
Uh-huh.
And the line delivery for me is very, very important because if it feels too one way or too another way, it takes me out of the story. Because I like conversations in films to feel just like that, your regular everyday conversations.
Yes.
And with this, I really feel like this film does an amazing job at basically making everything feel like these are real conversations with real people. This could be happening right now somewhere. Minus
the real like natural like like
yes,
like, really nice, and it's like a nice momentum in the language and the dialogue. You don't get bogged down in the dialogue; it just goes.
Correct.
And when we talk about like exposition dumps don't even really happen in this movie because like exposition dumps are how we would refer to like one character talking for a long time explaining backstory. But in this movie, we watch these sequences that show us what happened and never say a word. Like when we look at the wolf, when we see the wolf's backstory, we don't get a bit of dialogue explaining it. We just watch it happen.
Exactly. And I love that.
And that's why, like, when I watched this movie, basically immediately after I watched Black Adam, I was like, yo, like, it's like
such a better film.
Completely different styles.
Yeah.
And this is much more fun.
And I really, really hope that, you know, and I'm glad that you brought that up because with all the controversy swirling around the DCEU right now, I really do hope that James Gunn is able to turn that around. And I believe I said this last week, because if the DC films get better, the Marvel films have to get better because that's your competition.
Yeah.
And I think that James Gunn did an amazing job making himself stand out from the other writers and directors in the MCU. Like, I'm sorry, those Guardians of the Galaxy films, even if they are with sort of the Marvel formula, the language,
they just feel different. Much like Thor entries feel different.
Correct. I mean, I'm not trying to take away from the Russos, but the Russos aren't as good of filmmakers as James Gunn, in my opinion.
I would also put YTD in that as well. Like I think YTD I think he's a genius, dude. I love that dude.
I like him a lot. I don't like Love and Thunder as much as Ragnarok.
I thought Love and Thunder was fun. I
It
enjoyed it more
it
than I've
was
enjoyed a lot of other things.
it was fun, but it wasn't the high quality that I come to expect. But we'll travel down that road later.
And I'll say this.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of it being maybe a step back for him personally, it's still one of the best
It's
entries in Phase 4.
It's definitely steps further than what others have done.
Yeah.
But so
now,
to
I haven't
bring
seen Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever, you'll have a chance to see that in 17 days. It'll be on Disney Plus.
I believe, like, what I hear is that it is that it's a high water mark for Phase 4.
Wakanda Forever continues the high bar that Black Panther set.
Yeah.
And I have to say that Letitia Wright is very, very dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, and I do want to watch the film again, but I have to say I couldn't find any weak spots in that film. And you felt Chadwick Boseman's presence in that film. So I can't wait for you to watch it.
I'm excited to see it.
And for us to talk about it.
I mean, so I loved WandaVision, right?
WandaVision was probably one of the greatest bits of television.
Yes. Agreed. Completely. WandaVision to me was the peak of this phase. And maybe still is. Like, I don't know that I've seen anything better than WandaVision out of Marvel Studios.
WandaVision is going to be very, very hard to top. The thing with She-Hulk is that it is very comic book accurate.
Yeah.
However, I think that because of what Marvel has done, it doesn't feel like it has a place. Mm-hmm. Well, not that it doesn't have a place, but it feels out of place because of what Marvel has done. Now, I'm hoping that...
Well, they're currently trying to sow the seeds of, like, new characters. Like, they're trying to establish new legacy characters, which is tough.
Yes. Not to mention the fact that bringing back Daredevil, with as much love as he had with the Netflix series...
Yeah.
There's nothing that you could have done to satisfy the fanboys.
Yeah.
Just nothing. And I think that WandaVision was so good and such a surprise at how good it was because we didn't really...
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, yo, if this is what we're going to get out of the Disney Plus shows, then I'm here for all of them. But none of them have done for me what that one did for me.
No, not at all. And I think that it was so good that it set an impossible standard.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even...
Like, that's something that is sort of echoed throughout this phase because I didn't think No Way Home was that good. Like, it was fun, but it wasn't good.
No Way Home was...
I think No Way Home was the weakest of the 3 Spider-Mans that we've gotten with Tom Holland.
I think I can understand that, and I can appreciate that.
There's a lot of nostalgia there, obviously, but, like, the storyline itself was just, like, a way to get these 3 dudes on screen together.
That's a lot of what... and a lot of this phase was literally just ways to get something done.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to see some changes. So the whole point that I'm making is that this film, Bullet Train, is the perfect palate cleanser if Marvel and DC has you just cinema exhausted. This is the perfect palate cleanser.
It's very different. It's a fun ride. Like, and it shows that there's still, like, a place in the market for this kind of flick, right? Like,
right. There's still a place in the market for any film that's not comic book.
Yeah. And maybe you have to, like, pack it to the gills with talent and names in order to get it made, but, like, there's still stuff out there that's fun to watch that isn't like a Marvel movie.
Right. It's like we're getting the fun of the early Marvel flicks without having the formula of the machine of said Marvel flicks. And I'm a big fan of this film. I'm excited for some of the other films that are coming up in this new year that aren't Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to go see Avatar. I'm excited to see it because at this point, I want something different now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when we talked about a year or so ago, and I said that I was getting burned out by Marvel?
Yeah.
And I was burned out by Star Wars?
Yeah.
even seeing Wakanda Forever, which in a lot of ways, Wakanda Forever doesn't even feel like a Marvel movie. It's a movie with Marvel characters. It's not a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Even with that, I'm still very burned out by Marvel. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to watch the stuff that I enjoy anymore because it's just too much.
Yeah.
It took a lot to make me watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it was a good one.
But it took a lot to make me watch it because I'm so burned out. So seeing a film like Bullet Train and seeing actors that aren't playing Marvel characters that have to be these legacy characters was a joy. And it was just such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Agreed. Should we start winding it down? Bullet Train was made on a $85 to $90 million budget, made $239.3 million at the box office. Not a bad day.
Yeah, not at all.
And do you have the Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes score for Bullet Train. This is something I disagree with. The tomato meter has this currently sitting at a 54%. With a 76% audience score. That's from 5,000 plus verified ratings. Taking a look at the criticals. Let's see. Jeffrey Lyles from Lyles Movie Files. That's catchy. With an A-list cast happily playing against type, a nonlinear storytelling approach, witty dialogue, and a plethora of creative violence, Bullet Train plays out like an immensely satisfying upgrade of prime Tarantino. 9.5 out of 10. I agree with that 150%.
Yeah, that's about where I would. That's a lot of what I would say.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to, and that was posted on New Year's Day. So thank you, Jeff. Joe Lipsit cast this as Rotten from Queer Horror Movies. Without ebbs or flows to modulate the viewing experience and a never-ending barrage of increasingly ridiculous action, fun at first, exhausting by the end, Bullet Train proves that sometimes more is actually too much. 3 out of 5. I disagree with that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed I thought that the pacing and the feeling of the movie was right where it needed to be.
I agree.
Like, it's form meets function. It's a bullet train. Like, it's supposed to feel fast.
Right, exactly. That's the whole point.
Yeah. There are places in there to breathe too. Like, don't act like there aren't like moments where of exhalation in this thing, you know?
Exactly. Let's see. Yasser Medina says, as an action movie, it borrows a handful of Richie cliches. It mixes them conventionally into a violent plot that stumbles unsurprisingly along the rails of chaos and boredom. Where are you bored in this film, my dude?
Yeah.
Like that has to be from someone that's used to like diving out of planes for like fun. Like, if you're bored watching this movie, then hey, I don't know what to tell you, my dude. I really don't.
That's sort of how I feel about it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's pretty good. Is it perfect? No, but movies just rarely are.
Yeah, I mean, this is an action film that's over 2 hours. It's just over the 2 hour mark.
I like a tight 90, but I was entertained the entire time.
Correct.
And if homie wants places where this movie slows down and gives you a chance to recover, then he wants like a 2 hour, 45-minute version of this thing. And it just isn't built for that. Like, it's built for 2 hours of nonstop go. And it was fun like that.
Right.
There was, like, to make this shorter or to allow more space for things to breathe is to lose one of these characters, and you can't lose any of them.
Correct. Not to mention the fact that when you get films that are usually go, you lose a lot of the intelligence. You don't get that here. This film is smart from start to finish.
It's like Speed, right?
Yes.
Like there's another movie where that cannot stop. Like, it's not built into the premise for it to stop until the end.
Correct. Which also stars Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, in like Speed, this film goes, it gives you the slight bit of a breather when you need it, but it's not long. This film is like, it's like a circuit workout. You get those couple of seconds in between, and then bam, get back in there and kick your ass.
Well, and also, like, there were moments in this movie where I was like, I feel like I've been watching this for a while, but I didn't. But it wasn't because I was bored. It was just like I feel like I've been doing this for a little while. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, is this movie, because at the end of it, I was like, I guess that was over 2 hours, but it didn't feel like it.
Right. Right. Exactly. This is a film where it's one of those movies where you're having so much fun that your concept of time is lost.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I mean, you get experiences like that with not so much The Godfather, because The Godfather feels like every bit of it's 3 hours. It just finds ways to keep you entertained with story. But a film like, say,
like Guns Akimbo.
Which
is probably a tight 90, but it's still like, because it's so fast, it just doesn't feel like you're sitting there that long.
Exactly. Or even, and it is a tight 90. It's an hour and 35 minutes. That is a tight 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you feel like...
How many is it?
It's an hour and 35 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you even look at a film like Terminator 2. You forget how long that movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Because the action and the story keep you so engorged.
Yeah.
So this film is definitely it's a great piece of cinema. It's really one of the best films of this genre in the last 5 to 10 years.
For sure. Let's get Smiley in here and get this thing done.
Yeah, let's wrap this. Let's wrap it.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
Like, it is... So I enjoyed the hell out of this thing, and I'm going to give it a 0 shot rating, while also acknowledging that it's not perfect.
I'm willing to do that as well. This is a film that I think the fact that
it accomplishes exactly what it wants to.
It accomplishes what it wants to do and not take itself too seriously.
Yes.
Those two facts alone mirror the shortcomings of this film a lot. Some of the things that are a little bit that sort of are a little bit off-putting. I mean, granted, it's an action film, so you can't expect for the physics to be perfect. A guy on the outside of a bullet train not being thrown off as soon as it picks up speed. Yeah, but you know what? It's a movie.
And it was fun to watch him do it.
And it was fun to watch him do it. Exactly. That was really one of the only real bits that really made me roll my eyes.
Yeah.
Other than that, this film does a great job at what it's trying to do. It's a fun romp. And I'm happy to give it a 0 shot rating. This is probably one of Brad Pitt's best films in years.
Yeah. At least since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, period. Like,
or
I'm
Django Unchained.
Yeah. Wait, was Brad Pitt in Django Unchained? No, that's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, I was thinking of Johnny Depp. And I was thinking of Rango.
Oh, okay. Well, Johnny Depp's been in everything just like Brad Pitt has.
Yeah.
Well, weren't they in Stand By Me at one point too?
Probably.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to try to find... I'm really hoping that this novel is on Audible, because I have a credit right now that I'm going to try to get.
What are we doing next week?
Next week, I think we decided on... Shit.
We didn't write it down.
We didn't write it down. Well, there are other new movies that are out.
Oh, we're going to do Glass Onion.
Yes, next week is Glass Onion. The end of the month, we're doing everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yes.
So, did we say we were doing Black Adam, or did we kibosh that for something?
We're kiboshing that. We're doing Maverick.
Okay.
And
so next week is Glass Onion.
And I do think that, like, we should do. So there are 5 weeks in this month. I think we should do that Nick Cage movie too.
All right.
Unbearable weight of on whatever talent.
All right. So next week is Glass Onion. The week after that, we'll do Maverick. Then we'll do the Nicolas Cage documentary.
And then everything
everywhere, all at once, sometimes and forever.
Yes. All right. Excellent. Rate, review, subscribe. Have a good week, and we will talk to you next time.
Take care, everyone. Happy New Year.
Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.